All right, Jerry, thank you very much. Here with the coach. And Chip, sharp start to the game, real sharp start as your team got out to a big lead and was sharp on offense and on defense.
They were. We had I've said before, I thought we had a great preseason camp and built up to how we got a jump on the start today, and real happy with, a lot of kids playing for their first time and getting an opportunity, and I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, 7 TDs offensively in the first 7 possessions. And, one of the things you were looking for from Marcus was managing the offense. Looked like he managed it well.
Yeah, we don't really use the word manage. I think he got to go out and play, but I thought he made a lot of really good plays. They blitzed him a little bit early, and he took a sack on the first drive, but then came back and made some real quick decisions, and that's the one thing you love about him. I think he's got a really good command of our offense and knows where to go to the ball when they present some different looks. And there was a lot of unknowns coming into this game because, it's Gus's first year. The defensive coordinator came from Georgia State. Were they going to run what Arkansas State ran last year? They're going to run what they did at Georgia State. And, there's a lot of film that we spent a lot of time as a coaching staff that didn't help us at all today because they didn't run some of the things that we thought they were going to. But that's what happens in the first game. And that's a good football team. They won 10 games last year, and that quarterback is a good football player. You can understand why he was the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year last year. So we still got a lot of things to work on, but we're 1-0 to start the season, and we're moving in the right direction.
And one of the good things for Marcus making those quick decisions, he spread it around a lot of people. Colt Lyerla, Kenyon Barner, DeAnthony Thomas, a lot of different people out there.
Yeah, and we feel like we've got, we're not a one-man show. And I think it's important for us to be successful on the offensive side of the ball. We have to spread the ball to different people. And really, it's trying to see how the defense is going to deploy their looks, and then someone at some point in time is going to be the guy that's going to be, targeted by us of who we got to get the ball to. But I thought Keenan made some big plays. Josh Huff made some big plays. Obviously, DeAnthony and Kenyon contributors from the tight end. Darrell Hawkins had a couple catches. So it was a good day overall, but we still have to work on. There's a lot of things we got to work on, and that's a positive thing as a coach. Is you get chances, a lot of film we got to get cracking on and get ready here and go back to work on Monday. But when you win a game and that's a positive for us. You build on it, but you also know that we got a lot of work ahead of us.
You could see the team speed your defense was playing with, particularly in that first half. The plays that were working in the second half for Arkansas State weren't working in the first half. I thought your defense that first quarter and a half was smothering.
They did, and it's what we saw out of camp, and we'll build upon that. The great thing about today is a lot of guys got a lot of reps, and there's a lot of film for us to teach off of, and a lot of first game experiences today, and hopefully we can build from that.
And score points off the turnovers, too. A couple of turnovers, takeaways. You guys scored touchdowns off of those. So the short field a little bit, defense set them up as well.
Again, and then we feed off of them, and they feed off of us. And, that's important in any game because you don't know how they're going to play themselves out. We all have a plan going in, but that plan changes because they have a plan, too. So
got a chance to see the special teams and the effect of that kicking the ball off at the 35 and hanging it high. And, again, the speed of your kickoff team. I thought that was it was interesting to watch that and how that worked.
Yeah, there was a couple young guys. B.J. Kelly had a huge play on one of our kickoffs, and some of our young guys getting in there and learning to cover kicks, and that depth helps us. If we don't have to play our starters a ton on special teams because we got guys like B.J. and some of the younger guys that are stepping up, but that's going to pay dividends for us in the long run.
All right, Coach. Well, congratulations, 1-0 on the season. We'll talk to you next week after Fresno State.
All right, thanks, Jordy.
All right, Jerry, back up to you.
Coach, guys, I have Braylon Addison and Kenyon Barner in the other room. We'll go ahead and start taking questions for Chip. Please raise your hand so we can get you the mic. Bergen?
Do we need a mic? It's kind of intimate, don't you think? Big time.
Coach, the fact that Marcus...
You should stand up when you ask the question. No.
Comes out 12 of 13. The one miss is a drop.
Mm-hmm.
More than anything else he did tonight, is that maybe the most impressive thing? There was no nervousness, nothing, no apprehension about him tonight.
Yeah, and that's what we hoped had happened, and that's what we've seen out of him. But the one thing that's very difficult in college football is you don't have any scrimmages, and in high school ball you can have a few scrimmages. In the NFL they have preseason games, so his first game experience in front of a crowd, obviously the spring game, a lot was made of it, but our quarterbacks weren't tackled in the spring game, so it's a little bit different game. So to see how he performed today is what we hope for and what we wish for, but you really don't know until you get him out there. But how he's played and that poise that he has, that's you guys, I think people realize why he was picked as our starting quarterback, and he showed that, and he's got a way about him that's it's unique. He's just kind of a laid back dude, but he can make plays and he can run, and it's kind of fun to watch, to be honest with you.
What do you say at halftime? You have 50 points there. You come in constructively. What do you tell your guys?
You know, we looked at it as a challenge for our younger guys because they're going to get an opportunity to play. And knowing Gus and kind of how I know Gus, I would have done the same thing. I would have kept my guys in there and tried to establish something. And I think he's a heck of a football coach, and he did. And you know, we're going to go with you guys, and you deserve to play. Now go play. And you're going to fall down, you're going to make some mistakes, but get back up, and we'll. For us, we looked at it as a great teaching opportunity, and get a lot of things on film where we can kind of develop our depth, because there are kids that played in the second half for us that we know during the season are going to have to play key roles for us, because in this game, you know, your depth gets tested, and every year we've been here, it's all of a sudden, and you don't know where it is. Sometimes it just happens in droves of positions. You know, my first year here, we lost T.J. Ward in the first game. Game 3, Walter Thurman goes down with a torn ACL. Willie Glasper goes down with a torn ACL, and now we're playing all young kids in the secondary. So you don't know when it's going to happen, but when you can have a game like this where young kids can get in the game and learn, and that's how everybody's going to learn. You got to make mistakes to really learn and to grow, and we made a few in the second half, and we'll build from that. So,
what do you think about the way that Brian responded, given the events in the past week? And,
I thought Brian responded exactly how I thought he would respond. He's an unbelievable competitor. You know, it's a difficult situation for anybody when you're told you're not going to be the number one guy. But he came back and practiced really well at the end of the week for us. And I thought once he got settled down, sometimes it's tough for him because he's a little amped up, but he's playing with some young kids up front and young kids out wide. But I thought we settled down a couple times on offense and made some good drives. But when you're putting a lot of pieces together with them, it's not a consistent group. Also know that's a little difficult on a quarterback. But I was really happy that Brian got an opportunity to get in there and get his feet wet. And the same thing, you know, he's a chin strap away or you know, probably the proudest I am because it's the most time we spent in camp was on nobody having their helmet fall off, because I watched about 1,000 fall off in the last 3 days, you know, in critical situations. I watched Northwestern today lose their quarterback on a 2nd and 3 to a 3rd and 3, and they got to convert to keep Syracuse from driving, and the backup's got to go in the game. So if we accomplish one thing today I'm really proud of is we didn't have a helmet fall off. So, but he's a helmet falling off away from having to go in a game. So this experience helps him, and we'll build with him just like we did with all the other young guys that we got a chance to get play. So I don't have a vote, so I don't worry about things I got no say in. So if that's the rule, that's the rule. You know, I don't think the speed limit should be 65, but I'm not going 90. So.
Chip, can you just talk about Braylon Addison, what you saw out of him tonight and in camp?
Yeah, exciting player, extremely quick and dynamic. Same thing for him, you know, being a true freshman, a little bit different than Marcus, but, you know, got a maturity to him. Came prepared every day to meetings. You know, when you say, hey, we're going to put this in tomorrow, when you got into the meeting room, he knew exactly what it was, studied it, real student of the game, has a great understanding of the game of football, you know, as a high school quarterback, but the transition he's made to receiver/running back for us has been really good, and we hope we can continue to use him, you know, both as a returner and as a slot receiver and as a running back. So,
and true freshman in general, the last couple of years, you've thrown a lot of those guys out there. You feel confident doing that, continue to do that?
Yeah, because they prove to us, and our confidence in them is based on demonstrated ability. You know, it's not like, hey, let's just give this kid a shot because we like him. It's every day we've seen him in practice, and I think the style that we practice in with everybody getting so many reps, you know, there's not a kid in that room over there that says, you know, I'm not getting a fair shot. Everybody gets reps in practice for us, and Braylon took advantage of his opportunity. He came to camp in shape, studied his playbook, and like everybody else, when we recruit everybody, we recruit, you know, it's an open competition in every position. You get an opportunity to come in and compete for the job. We don't promise anybody anything, but we do promise you that you'll get an opportunity to compete, and Braylon's taking full advantage of that. So.
Coach, Keenan Lowe, local Oregon boy, talk about how he developed over the summer, because he really came out and earned his position and looked like he was playing really well early. Can you talk about his development?
I would say it went back to last year and really started to come on towards the end of last year, and then got banged up a little bit. I think it was in the Oregon State game with his wrist. And then played in the Rose Bowl with a cast, was a great special teams player for us, and was really coming along at receiver for us, and then got banged up a little bit. But that we saw that in spring, and he continued doing that, growing over the summertime, and earned himself a starting position. And that's the same thing. We've got a lot a lot of competition on this football team, and I think that's one of our strengths. It is we get an opportunity to kind of develop that depth, but that's going to pay dividends down the road for us. But Keenan has got out of it exactly what he's put into it. And he's been one of our hardest workers, and I was really happy to get an opportunity to get in the game and make some catches early, and flying around like the Keenan that we know. But we expected that. He was that type of player when he was a Jesuit, so it's that maturation process. But he's still a young guy. I think it's 65 freshmen and sophomores on this team. So the great part about it is they don't really act like freshmen and sophomores. So
You talk about demonstrated ability in practice. Did you get a surprise out there today from anybody? Did anybody do something that you say, are 12 to 13 to start the game? Anything?
Honestly, that didn't surprise me. But like everybody in this room, whenever 6 touches the ball, that. Just kind of sit back, and he had that one run, and I turned around. Scott Frost just looked at me and was like, and again, I'd like to take credit for coaching him because I coach him, but we just line him up and let that kid go. He surprised me, and I hope he continues to surprise me for a long time. So.
Anthony had another explosive game tonight, explosive performances on his touchdown runs. He was instantly trending across the U.S. on Twitter for his performance tonight. What'd you think?
Do you want me to go philosophical on Twitter on you, or were you bringing me down that path? I mean, he's a special player, and it was very evident from the first time he got here and started running, and he just somehow, some way, he seems like he's playing faster, or really kind of playing a different game than everybody else. So it's a great thing to have, to be able to have him and to have Kenyon. And when you lose a LaMichael James, who's the all-time leading rusher, and you got guys like that, and it's our job to make sure that we can find ways to continue to get him the football. But he's a special football player, and he's a lot of fun to watch.
How much more does he benefit by playing in your system at that pace, or would he just be special anywhere?
He would be special anywhere. I mean, I think anybody in the country would take him if he was up for grabs, but he's not. So, yeah.
Any other questions for Coach? Lauren, go ahead.
Coach, just you talked about D'Anthony. How about Kenyon? How did he perform tonight? It looked like he was in good shape, ran well.
He was in great shape, and really one of the things about this team, it's been really interesting, even though we are young, to see which kids have really, really stepped up as leaders. And Kenyon really has on the offensive side of the ball. Had a great fall camp for us, preseason camp for us, has worked extremely hard because he knows, obviously not every game is going to be 50 to whatever it was, 50 to 10 at halftime. And we're going to be in a battle, and there's going to be games when we're slugging it out and going toe-to-toe with some really good competition. And he's going to have to come up big. But I have confidence that he can do that. He's worked extremely hard. And he's been a great leader to those young guys. D'Anthony's a sophomore, Byron's a freshman. Yele and Kenny Bassett. I think they've got a great role model in Kenyon, and they can kind of model themselves and watch how he practices. But we need everything out of him, and I'm excited about where he is right now from a conditioning standpoint. I'm excited about where he is mentally, and it's going to be a lot of fun if we can keep those two guys healthy. So,
hey Chip, a game like that where you jump way out in front of somebody. Do you have a rule of thumb or a guideline that you try to enforce on when you call off the dog, so to speak, and when you go to the younger guys? Is it a feel for a particular game or something you try to go by with?
Yeah, it's a feel, Dwight. We also knew we got to get some work done too. We've got some guys that need reps, and it's it's a kind of a catch-22 because in some situations, if we're trying to redshirt some kids, and I think you may look out there and go, what's that kid doing in the game? We don't have another guy to go in. If he goes in, and it's the one thing we've promised the kids, when you come here, you're going to get an opportunity to play, but I'm not going to put you in for 3 plays at the end of a blowout, and at the end of the year you say, hey, I played 19 snaps in an entire season, and it cost me a year. So we're always in that fine line, and I'm trying to manage who's in the game, who's not in the game, and making sure you don't want anybody to get injured when you're up by 40. But it's tough. I think it's somewhat, from that standpoint, kind of what the NFL guys go through when they're looking at a preseason game. Like, how many reps does my starting quarterback need in preseason camp? But I also, if he gets hurt in preseason, you're in trouble. And it's the same thing for us. It's that fine line of making sure that we're getting better, we're continuing to grow, but also not get guys hurt. And there's someone else on the other sideline. I got a tremendous amount of respect for Gus and how he coaches and what he's about. And I've been there. I've coached at places that, we were excited when we got a first down, and that can be demoralizing when you're on the other sideline. But I knew they would keep coming and keep playing, and we felt when we were up, and sometime in the second quarter, we started getting those guys out of there just because there's a certain way to play this game, and I think there's a respect that goes on in our profession between guys on how things are done, and I think we've done that by and large since I've been here. So.
Any other questions, guys?
What is your philosophy on Twitter?
What's that?
What is your philosophy on Twitter?
I don't have a philosophy. I just don't understand it. So, I think it's very narcissistic, to be honest with you, in certain things. I think in your line it's great because you guys are getting the message out. But the people that tell you what to eat for breakfast and what color shoes they're wearing today, I mean, get over it. But I'm not smart enough to figure it out, and I got a lot of other issues. So.
On that note, we'll let you guys go.